प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित् सुखं परमहंस गतिं तुरीयम् यत् स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवेति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः। संसारस्वप्नतुल्यो हि रागद्वेषादिसङ्कुलः स्वकाले सत्यवद्भाति प्रबोधे सत्यसद्भवेत् तावत् सत्यं जगद्भाति शुक्तिकारजतं यथा यावन्न ज्ञायते ब्रह्म सर्वाधिष्ठानमद्वयम् उपादानेऽखिलाधारे जगन्ति परमेश्वरे सर्गस्थितिलयान्यान्ति बुद्बुदानीव वारिणि सच्चिदात्मन्यनुस्यूते नित्ये विष्णौ प्रकल्पिताः व्यक्तयो विविधाः सर्वा हाटके कटकादिवत् यथाकाशो हृषीकेशो नानोपाधिगतो विभुः तद्भेदाद्भिन्नवद्भाति तन्नाशे केवलो भवेत् नानोपाधिवशादेव जातिवर्णाश्रमादयः आत्मन्यारोपितास्तो ये रसवर्णादिभेदवत् पञ्चीकृतमहाभूत सम्भवं कर्म सञ्चितम् शरीरं सुखदुःखानां भोगायतनमुच्यते पञ्चप्राणमनो बुद्धि दशेन्द्रियसमन्वितम् अपञ्चीकृतभूतोत्थं सूक्ष्माङ्गं भोगसाधनम् अनाद्यविद्यानिर्वाच्या कारणोपाधिरुच्यते उपाधिकृतया गण्यम् आत्मानमवधारयेत् पञ्चकोशादियोगेन तत्तन्मय इव स्थितः शुद्धात्मा नीलवस्त्रादि योगेन स्फटिको यथा.
The world full of attachments, aversions, etc. is verily like a dream. As long as it exists, it appears to be real. It becomes unreal when one is awake to self-realization. This term Samsar is given in this verse. Etymologically, Samsar means that which is in a constant flux of change, that which comes and goes, that which is born and dead, that which appears and disappears. Even though it appears and disappears, it is in a constantly changing mode. The nature of samsara is that it gets you deep into it, making you consider that is the reality. That is the peculiarity of this samsara. So what happens is, whenever we get into any unintelligent relationship which sort of binds us, we call that also samsara. Family is samsara, world is samsara. It's not confined to a particular family or a world. A person could be unmarried also, but he could be in samsara. His samsara could be in a different form. A person could be caught up in office and that work or politics or anything for that matter. That becomes his samsara. If you analyze it per se, bit by bit, it is just that which flashes, comes and goes, it appears and disappears. In this constant flux of change, it gives a solidarity. Just as we see a solidarity of a movie on the screen because of the fast movement of the film. Actually speaking, it is one by one, film is going. But it is so real to us because it is going at that speed that it makes you get involved in the happenings of the film which is on the screen, which is not real. We know, we have gone there just to entertain ourselves, yet it draws us so completely in. That could be probably a way in which we can understand what this samsara is. In this ever-changing world, there is a constantly the changes at the level of the experiencer, meaning your body, mind, intellect is constantly changing. And the world is constantly changing with its perception, emotions and thoughts. So this total thing is called as the samsara. In this constant flux of change, we try to get a fixated happiness. That means a permanent happiness, which is not possible. Because it has to constantly change, and when you change, the frequencies change. See, when your frequency matches with the world's frequency, then we experience pleasure for a while. We experience happiness, definitely it is there. But we want to retain it for a long time, it just doesn't retain. Because the world is in a constant flux of change. It will change. Even if you try to keep the world fixed, your mind will change. That is the nature. That is the nature of the mind. Now, this ever-changing world, which is called as samsara, he says, samsara swapna tulya. Tulya means equal. It is like that. Swapna tulya means it is like dream. So in this verse, the dream example is given. As in the case of any other example, there are a couple of points of comparison here. Raga dveshadi sankulaha. The samsara is fraught with raga and dvesha, likes and dislikes, attachment, aversion, etc. Etc. means it's not confined to just these two emotions. Host of other emotions which are born of our likes and dislikes. Raga dvesha adi. Adi means starting from that everything. So this, what we experience in the samsara, because as I said, the world gives, because of the constant flux of change, it throws us pairs of opposites. Heat changes into cold, cold changes into heat, joy turns into sorrow, etc. Or honor, dishonor, all at all levels, intellectual level, emotional level, physical level, profit and loss, black and white. Each and everything is that which the world throws upon us because of the constant flux of change. What reacts with that is one pair which is strongly rooted in our system is this raga dvesha, like and dislike. If like and dislike is not there, any amount of change in the world is not going to affect us. Change may be there, but you will be constant. That is not the case. Because we operate on likes and dislikes, we constantly get affected by this changes that are there in the world. That is why in chapter 5, I think it is indicated in verse 19 of chapter 5, Bhagavad Gita. I forgot that verse. What it says is, since we talked about the two changing factors, if the mind is getting hold of a changing factor, when that changes, the mind also tends to slip away. When you fix your mind on something which is constantly moving, it is going to go away and the mind also slips away. That is where we get affected. If you are able to keep the mind on a fixed factor, then the chances of getting the mind into complete fixation is there. So, a child is playing a game or a dance, even in During Navaratri time in Gujarat, they play this dandiya. One of the movements of the dance is that two people hold hands like this and they move around in a swirling motion. Both of them move around in a very fast motion, and you have to practice it. You have to be expert in it to do it in a fast motion without falling down. Otherwise, even if the legs has to be in constant rotation, if they touch each other, if one trips, other also trips, like that it is. But for a child, what to do? It has to practice. So you have a small pillar or a post, let the child go and hug the post, and when it comes around, however fast or however disoriented the dance may be, the child is not going to fall down because the pillar is constant. Here the child is moving and the pillar is constant. Similarly, you keep the mind on that which is fixed, which is Brahman. Wherever it goes here or there, it is not tending to slip. It will not. Slowly the mind get absorbed in the Brahman and it will ultimately become one. So this Raga Dvesha, which is the likes and dislikes of our experience here, this is one big facet or one big factor of this samsar. This factor is very clearly visible to us in dream also. In dream also, when you take the position of that person in the dream, who is the dreamer there, he goes through various experiences, various likes and dislikes, various sukha and dukkha within the dream. In dream, you may be happy because you won a lottery, or somebody met with an accident and you may be sad about it. Each and everything that is affecting you here, exactly the similar way it is affecting you in the dream also. So this is exactly like a dream. This is one point. Second point is yavat satyam. Swakale means at that time. When is this dream real? As we said, the joy, sorrow, everything was very real when you experienced in the dream. But how did it appear real at that point of time? Because at that point of time, when the dream was going on, the dream was a reality. You cannot say that it is not real at that point of time. Exactly like that, this world also appears to be real as of now when we are experiencing it. If you take away this point of comparison, there is no difference at all. There is no difference, or rather you go by this point of comparison, there is no difference at all between the dream world and waking world. You try to give any experience here, the parallel will be there in the dream. You cannot say this is any more real than the dream. These 2 points, if you take, the type of experiences that we go through which affects us and the reality of those experiences, all that is quite equal to that of the dream. Yavat tavat comes in the next verse. Of course, he is going to say that. Now, this reality that he is talking about as Satyam. What is Satyam? What is reality? The definition of reality is that which persists. That which persists means that which remains the same in the past, present or future. Even when you talk about Satyam as truth, truth is only one, it will not change, right? Whatever is the truth, truth will be the same. Only when you say a lie, then that will keep on changing. You have to defend that lie and you have to say something else. So that which keeps on changing is false. That which remains the same is truth all the time. If you apply this test of reality, then the dream world does not stand to the test of reality. The waking world also does not stand to the test of reality, or rather anything that you put into that condition, it will not stand to the test of reality. Because the dream world was real when you were experiencing it. But before that, it was not there. After you woke up from it, it was not there. Exactly like that, this that we go through, this waking world that we go through, this is not real for us when we go through the state of sleep or a dream. Carefully note, as far as your experience is concerned, this does not stand to the test of reality. But something else stands to the test of reality. That is what it is. You may say, you may not experience it, but it is there. It is there. We will come back to that. But the point is, in and through all your experiences, you are experiencing something which is real, which is pointed as Brahman by the Vedantic scriptures, but it is being pointed out as your own self, I. The I that you refer to as me, I. This I is that which is real, which goes through all these states of experiences without changing. I which you use now is the same I that you use in the dream. It is the same I that you use in the deep sleep. But what you refer to as I here now, that is different. What you refer to as I in the dream, that is different. What you refer to as I in the deep sleep, that is different. But something or the other you are constantly pointing to as I. The conditioned aspect of I, which is by your body here, you are experiencing here it as a waker, that is not there in the dream. In dream you may have a different name also, but the body that you have is also something different. So therefore, your dream body, your dream mind and dream intellect, that is not real. Dream world is not real. Exactly like that, this body, this mind and this intellect, as long as you identify with this I and you wake up and say, it seems to be real. But the moment you get into the dream, it is not real. Of course, self-realized masters say from their experience, they have transcended a different experience, but on a daily, day-to-day basis, we do experience this. And in deep sleep, both the dream world and the waking world, they are negated. You go into a state of absolute null, void or zero, it is. But there also I continues. I continues in the sense you don't say I am sleeping. You can't say it, because if you say you are not sleeping, but it's very clear that the I was there, because when you wake up from it, you say I had a good sleep. So therefore somebody was witnessing the sleep also. Somebody was there awake when you are sleeping. Somebody knew, because it is not that what happened to me, you don't say, you get up and ask. You are very clear that I slept. How did you know that you sleep? I know for sure that I slept, because I was there when I was sleeping also. I was there when I was dreaming also. I am here when I am awake also. This I is said to be the reality which persists in all points of time. Throughout your lifetime you use the I, which is in the childhood or boyhood or adult or youth or old man, everybody uses the I, but all are different persons. Different in the sense, your body is different, your mind is different, your intellectual ideas also are different, but I is that which connects. On a day-to-day experiences also, your sense perceptions are different. Seeing and smelling are different, smelling and tasting are different. Like that it is, but it is connected to I. I am seeing, I am smelling, I am thinking, I am feeling. All this is connected to that same I. This I alone is real. So what about this world that we experience with this body, mind, intellect? What is it called? This is called as a relative reality or a practical reality. Relative reality means it is real as long as you experience it. That is why people who are probably not well versed with the depth of the Advaita Vedantic concepts, they will tend to dismiss Vedanta's world as unreal. Vedanta does not say that the world is unreal. Vedanta says the world is neither real nor unreal. You cannot say it is real, you cannot say it is unreal also. Because if it is unreal, what is the definition? Reality, if it exists at all point of time, unreality, it never exists at any point of time. That is the definition. So it did not exist in the past, it does not exist now, it will not exist in the future. World is not like that. It does exist for us now. So it is very clear that it is, having an impact upon us. So how can we call it unreal? For unreal, Vedanta gives the example like horns on a man or horns of a rabbit. A rabbit doesn't have horns. Never in the past, now or future also. Or if you say if it develop horn, then it's not rabbit. Something else it becomes. That's all it is. A lady who cannot bear a child, her son, suppose you say, her son doesn't exist. If she bears a son, she is not the type of a lady. That's about all. Flowers in the sky. Like that it is. Even to bring in the concept of unreality into our intellect, we need to bring in at least two factors which are there in our experience. You have to say that there is a rabbit, there is horn, but horn on a rabbit doesn't exist. So because you give an example for unreality, you cannot give an example. Because if it is there in your thought as an example, it is there. It is there means it's real. It is not unreal. So unreality has to be even explained. Just as that which is not there. You cannot explain zero. Concept of zero to somebody. You have to explain something is there and you take it away. 5 chocolates is there and I take 5 chocolates. That is called as zero. Otherwise, how do you show zero? You cannot show zero. You cannot explain zero. So unreality is that which does not exist. Reality is that which exists at all points of time. But then if you take that in between stage, this is called as practical reality. Vyavaharika Satyam. Paramarthika Satyam is the ultimate reality. Vyavaharik means that is in the Vyavahar, practically. Practically, this world is real. It does impact us. In Vedanta, the statement Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya is given. So the term given is Mithya. Brahma Satyam Jagat Asatyam, they don't say. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Mithya means sort of an illusion. Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Jiva, that the individual is nothing other than Brahman only. This is the statement that is given. That is why in this verse he says, Prabodhe. Prabodhe means when you wake up to enlightenment, Asad Bhavet. When does it become unreal? Only upon waking up. So this has to be underlined. When you are in the world, don't take the stance that the world is unreal. We have to only mull over this concept of this knowledge that is given here. So the emphasis is not to negate the world as unreal. The emphasis of the verse is to establish in the Brahman as real. When you establish in the Brahman as real, this world gets automatically dismissed off. So do not try ever to negate the world by saying it is unreal or by trying to practice it is unreal. It is not the case. By changing our perception, by changing our vision, you have to get established in reality. In other words, your perception keeps on improving, your perception keeps on changing, getting more and more clarified, and at one point of time you suddenly wake up. When you wake up to reality, at that point of time, this is completely negated. It is something that you can, it does not impact you anymore. That is the time you understand that Prabodhe Sati Asad Bhavet. In other words, now you have woken up from the dream. That particular dream world that you are going through is Asat. It is not there. It is just not there. So now it is unreal. But as long as you are in the dream, it was very much real. So only upon waking up is the discussion that is given here. Similarly, the parallel here is you understand the dream is Asat only upon waking up. Similarly, a enlightened sage only upon waking up understands this world to be Asat. Sati Asat Bhavet. That must be our focus, that must be our emphasis. So the emphasis is on realization of the self. We talked about 4 types of this word Satyam. Satyam or Paramarthika Satyam is that which is absolute truth or absolutely real, which is Brahman. Asatyam is which is unreal, which is false, unreal. In between we said there are 2 things. One is called as Vyavaharika Satyam, which is practical reality or relative reality, which refers to this world. Another is Pratibhasika Satyam. Pratibhasika Satyam means a reflected reality. They are parallel only, Pratibhasika and Vyavaharika. Pratibhasika means in this world also you see something as sometimes a reflected illusion, which is what is further explained in the next verse. In the next verse, he is going to give an example of this Pratibhasika, reflected reality, to explain to us what is the nature of this world. Yes, sir.
Only in this concept that this is the unreal as compared to dream is this verse taken. Otherwise, we have lot of verses in Mandukya Upanishad and other places where it explains in detail as to the stages of waking world, dream world, and this sleep world. So when we read those things, it appears as if these it is a separate compartment rather than the same compartment what we are comparing.
No, it is not same compartment. Tulya means it is equal. Equal means it is similar. Even in Mandukya, when the concepts are explained, he clubs dream and waking together in form of one. What are the arguments and other thing? And deep sleep is something different. So two states is the type of experiences that we go through in which it is said. As far as the compartments are concerned, it is very clear. It is three. Of these three, see, a station is there where a colorful and a passenger train which comes and goes, and in the night off and on one goods train comes and goes, which is very dark, dull. You are not even able to clearly notice what it is in the night. And when all the trains are not gone for a good period, no train comes. So this colorful train which comes in the station is the waking world, and the goods train is the dream world. But both are some form of train that is coming and going. But when there is no train there also, the station is there. Okay, when the no train is there, that is called as deep sleep. That is somewhat different from the other two states. Other two states are, in comparison, in this example, different in different in degree only. So that is why he is saying there are points of comparison here. These two or three is the point of comparison, that there is raga dvesha there also, here also, and relative reality as long as you experience there also, here also. Third is only upon waking up you understand that it was unreal. Here also only upon waking up to fourth state that you will see is unreal. Otherwise, there are definitely some other points of differentiation also it is there. For example, again, the comparison and the explanation is after we wake up. The time, space and causation that we experience in the dream is somewhat hazy, not very well defined. But here it is much more solid and well defined. The laws are very, very pakka here. Similarly, you have this bhoktrutva bhavana, or the sense of enjoyership in the dream. In other words, it's just an experience that you go through there. In waking state, you have the bhoktrutva bhavana experience that we go through, and also a kartrutva bhavana where you can consciously do actions by which you are going to gain punya, papa, evolution, devolution. All this is possible here. There it is a mechanical thing that you go through as this thing. So there are some points of differentiation also, but here you have to just stick with the points of comparison here.
One question.
Yeah.
You say negation and assertion is the way. Here you are saying don't negate, assert.
See, here the point, negation and assertion, carefully analyze. Negation and assertion is the sadhana that is given from the point of view of the individual, the microcosm. As far as I am concerned, even the Pratasmarami, that shloka says, I am this Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham. I am this indivisible Brahman. Nacha Bhuta Sangaha. I am not this body, mind and intellect. So constantly anything and everything that comes to us also, you dismiss it, or rather you don't take it to the heart or get affected by saying that it is for my body, mind and intellect. I am not that, I am not that. So there it is possible that you are aware and you know what is body, mind and intellect, and to consciously negate it is the practice. You may not be able to directly assert what it is Brahman, but you have a idea of it, think of it, and you by thought you are trying to assert that this is I am that, I am not this, I am that. When we are talking about here, it is from the macrocosmic point of view, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Why I brought that point is, people tend to, with half-baked knowledge, of course, they tend to dismiss the world. There are some people who get into the idea of Vedanta and they get exposed to the highest first, and they may tend to see everything, or they try to see everything as unreal, or they even talk about it like that in a very amateurish way. Without maturity, they do that. Why do you have to... India should not fight war with Pakistan, It is how ultimately everything is illusion. There's nothing that is real. Why are we fighting over a blade of grass? This or that. They'll be talking like this. You only try to take any pen or laptop from him and say, no, that he will hold on to it. In other words, what he is established is the reality of this is me. But he is trying to project a stance where he says this the world is unreal or something like that. So therefore, with reference to our experience with the world, perception of the world, you don't take that stance. You emphasize on self-realization. When you are in the a time may come where you don't see a differentiation between what is India or Pakistan or Indians and Pakistan. All those differentiation, demarcation, and all the other emotions that are there with it, it will not be there. But what is interesting is those who have established in the truth, always as a self-realized person, be it Buddha, Krishna, whoever it is, they have only very clearly established whatever is required at that point of time. In other words, from the Vyavaharic point of view, what is clearly Dharma and Adharma, they know, and they establish Dharma also. That is why the Avatara is also there. So, from that point, I am saying, when you are not in that mode, you try to get into that mode by emphasizing on going towards self-realization. That is the point. But negation and assertion is the way. You, as far as your individual microcosm is concerned, negate that which is not the self, assert what it is the self. Yes, sir.
Basically, taking the example a little further, the train example, we can say that the platform gives you permanent happiness.
Yes, platform is the permanent
happiness, and the train.
Platform witnesses all the three.
Yes.
That train also, it sees. The goods train also it sees. When there is no train also, it is there. Tracks also.
So platform gives the permanent happiness. And then now it is saying that while we are all trying to go on a faster and faster train, don't try to get off from a bullet train while it is running. You will fall flat on your face.
See, that's what be in the platform. Don't get onto any train itself. That is the thing. Why do you want to now get on and try not to get off? That's the.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, not directly connected to this.
Yeah.
So you can never know God. You can never know Brahman. You can experience it.
Correct.
Right. But if the experience is within the realm of body, mind, intellect.
Correct.
Then how can you experience God or Brahman?
This is what we covered in the last class, or last to last class, where he said that when you use the term experience, it is a very near term that we can use it for self-realization. It is not experience. It is beyond experience also. Whenever you experience something in the world, you need a subject, object, and an instrument of experience. I experience apple through the tongue, or I experience music through the ear. So there is a subject, there is an object, and a medium or an instrument by which you experience. So upon self-realization, how will I experience? Your body, mind, and intellect are not going to be useful for experience, and you as an individual is not experiencing Brahman. That means you and Brahman become two different things. It is not so. It is becoming means all the three merge into one. Experiencer, experienced, and the experience. This three factor now becomes one factor then. So you can say, for the sake of putting it in a sentence, that self experiences itself by itself. Like that you can say. But it doesn't make any meaning. So it is beyond experience actually. Anubhuti, Anubhava, various words we can use. All that is trying to only give us a picture of it from the level that we are. Otherwise it is not really an experience like any other experience that we have. Yes, sir.
You have told I is reality. But when you dissolve, then only the reality will be experienced.
Correct. What are you dissolving? The I is the reality. This I, when it is an association with the body, mind, intellect, becomes the self, becomes the individual self. Once the individuality is dissolved, the pure I remains as it is. That is what it is. So, even as you use the term I now, you are not able to use the term I independently by itself. You have to associate that I with something. Suppose if I say I am, you will say I am what? I have to finish that sentence. I am Indian, or I am talking, or I am doctor, something. So this I gets qualified by that, qualified by the nationality, qualified by the work that I do, or qualified by anything. Without qualification, can I say I am? No. But this is the statement that is attributed to God when Moses heard. We really do not want to go into the grammatical and etymological word of Yehovah, right? I don't know what. I am that I am. I am that I am. And Ramana Maharshi and others also say, this is probably the closest that you can come to expressing what is the self. If you take it per se, I am. What is I am? I am. I am that I am. That's all. There is no qualification, modification, or distortion of that I. That I remains in a pure, pristine form. Even now we are using that I, but we sort of distort it. So that I is the reality. That I, without any modification or qualification, it is just expressed as I only there. That is self-realization. That is one.
There is a famous story of Raja Janaka, in which he dreamed that he had become a pauper and from anything happened to him. Then he comes to the Darbar next day and asks, which is true, which is the truth. Is it the same thing as that?
Yeah, it is the same thing. So, only difference between King Janaka and maybe rest of us is that question bothered him immediately, and he would not rest content till he found that answer. And others were not able to convincingly answer him except sage Ashtavakra who answered his question. So his point was that whether I am the king who dreamt as a beggar, or am I that beggar who is now dreaming to be the king? So that means he was very clearly able to see the vivid experience of the dream as it is. When he woke up, he was questioning the vividity of the solidarity of this experience. Therefore, he was not very convinced about the experiences that he was going through, and he wanted the reality. So sage Ashtavakra came and said that you are neither the king nor the beggar who you thought you were in the dream, nor you are the deep sleeper. When you go through a state of deep sleep, you are that supreme self which puts on the garb and appears as various things through your experiences. You are not any one of them. The world full of attachments and aversions, etc., is verily like a dream. As long as it exists, it appears to be real, but it becomes unreal when one is awake to self-realization. We'll chant verse 7.
तावत् सत्यं जगद्भाति शुक्तिकारजतं यथा यावन्न ज्ञायते ब्रह्म सर्वाधिष्ठानमद्वयम्.
The world appears to be real as long as the non-dual Brahman, the substratum of all, is not realized, like silver in an oyster shell. Verse 6 says, Prabodhe, when awake. What is it that is exactly that awakening that is given in this verse 7? Verse 6, 7, 8, each one of them you independently understand the example and the concept, go deep into it. Later you will find all these three put together gives a very beautiful picture. The Swamiji has written in the introduction of this Atma Bodha that in each and every verse Adi Shankaracharya paints a picture here actually. Because Brahman is something which cannot be explained. He is trying to picturize it with this shlokas, with these words, by giving various examples. When you go into the totality of it, a 3D picture in total should emerge. 6, 7, 8 you read like that, but each one of them you take independently. When you make the notes and other things, go by that particular example for that particular verse only. Then you will see the connection between all the three automatically. Don't try to connect one verse with the other as you are trying to get established in the concept that is being explained here. Yavat, tavat, idiomatic construction. As long, so long. Jagat, Jagat means the universe. All the worlds that you experience, all put together in a comprehensive way, is called as Jagat. It covers entire span of your experiences, waking, dream, deep sleep, all put together, and all the entire big universe that we experience now is the Jagat. This Jagat that you experience, as we experience, it seems to be something, but behind that something, this verse says there is something known as a adhishtanam or a substratum. We gave that movie example also. a solid seeming picture is there running in the screen, what do we see is not the screen. What do we see is the movie. We see the village, we see the hero, we see the heroine, we see the grass, we see the dance, fight. Therefore, various emotions are produced in our system also. The transaction is between us and the movie, the players who are playing there, the hero, heroine and others who are there. But in and through, what we clearly miss is that this movie cannot be projected unless otherwise there was a screen behind. The screen is the substratum. The screen is the substratum upon which the movie is projected, but we get so much caught up in that movie that we forget the screen. Forget means we don't even recognize the existence of the screen. We don't understand that there is a screen at all. All that we see is the movie. All that we see is the play that is there. This substratum is explained in this verse by the example of silver and the oyster shell. On a moonlit night, when you walk along a beach, sometimes there are oyster shells which are washed away by the waves that are there spread. And by the reflection of the moon, it may appear as silver. It may appear as something which is very shining and it's silver. This is what we called as pratibhasika satyam. It is a reflected reality. In this world itself, which is a practical reality, there are certain things which are deceptive to our senses. Few verses later or later in Atma Bodha, this rope and snake example, which is a famous example. It is, what is rope and snake? It is the same thing. Rope is the reality here. Now, don't go into the understanding of whether rope itself is real or not. But that is not the point of discussion. In this practical world, rope is real. And what is projected upon is a snake is not real. Exactly like that. Here the oyster shell is the reality. Upon the oyster shell, what you see as a shining silver is not the reality. This silver is the appearance and oyster is the reality. It is happening because of the moonlight. In this example, we can take it little further to confirm that silver actually confirms that there is an oyster. Silver confirms that there is an oyster. Remember this today. Whether you take the world as real or whether you take the world as mithya, false. Even from your own standpoint, our own standpoint, I am saying, you consider the world as real or you consider the world as false. The world as you see has to have a adhishtanam as a substratum. Wow, how it is mithya, it has been explained like dream in the previous example. So wherever there is a mithya, wherever there is a false projection, there has to be a base or substratum here. See, wherever there is a snake, there has to be a rope that is supporting it. You cannot project. If I'm saying here there is air, right? Vacant air. Try to project a snake here. Try hard. It will not happen. Only when there is a rope there is a potential of not understanding the rope as a rope, and then you can project it as a snake. It is possible. But if the reality is not there, if the substratum is not there, you cannot project anything on it. So it is very clear that if you consider this world as the mithya, as a projection, as something false, there has to be a screen behind that movie. There has to be a oyster shell behind that silver screen. There has to be something which is real. So that is clear. Now, how do we understand it from the point of view of our perception? How do we understand it? Swami Ramtirtha helps visit that talk on theory of perception once again. That's how he proves. According to your perception, according to whatever you project and see, it is all nothing but the reaction of your thoughts that you project and see as the objects there, which is all the qualities. You take any perception, you perceive this clock or this mobile phone or a watch or anything, pencil. For any perception, what do you perceive in that object is the qualities of that object. Apart from the qualities of this object, do you see anything? Don't you see this as solid? This solid is being a quality. Don't you see this is black? This black is a quality. This is light. This light is a quality. Being not heavy, its light is a quality. All that you perceive with your senses, with your body, mind, intellect, whatever you perceive, that perception is only the qualities that is there. Without qualities, you cannot perceive anything. It is what we perceive is just the quality. And this qualities that you perceive here is entirely subjective in nature. Subjective. These qualities are not inherent in this object. The qualities are subjective. It is in your thoughts. For a person who is blind, can he say whether it is black or white? No, it is black or white only for a person who knows what is black and white and who can see. It is there in the subject. It is not there in the object per se. If it is black, then this blackness should hit everybody in the same way. It is not so. It is only the subject who knows and understands it that way based on his thought that he is able to perceive. A new child which is born, which is just growing up in a few months or so, if it is able to see this, it will not see it in the same way that you are seeing. It will not even know. Sometimes it may try to eat it thinking it is a sweet also. That is its perception. That is its thought. So, no, it is clock, it is seeing time, clock, all these things, it comes to know only much later. So, each and every perception is purely subjective. The depositing of this thought is called as the reaction of the subject upon which, therefore, you perceive an object. Therefore, Swami Ramtirtha asks us to think deeply and say that, why is your reaction kindled? According to the law of science, there has to be an action, only then there is a reaction. This you perceive as a clock, this you perceive as something. After your perception, only it is a clock. But before perception, what was this? What attracted your senses? What made you see it? What made you project that quality? What actually hit you first? There has to be something. There has to be something. That he calls it as X factor. Put it X. Put it something. But he uses all the reason and logic of all the European philosophers and everybody also to say that whether it is Plato, whether it is anybody, all of them finally came to that conclusion that there has to be a substratum. There has to be a reality behind every object that you perceive. You may perceive a car, you may perceive a hill, you may perceive a person, you may perceive anybody. Beyond all the qualities that you see in that person, there has to be a reality. Because that reality is that which starts the play of the perception. After that play is begun, you project the quality upon it and then what you perceive is the quality. The screen is there only upon which you can project it. So therefore there is a reality behind each and every object. This substratum, this reality, this verse says adhishtanam, but it uses the word sarva adhishtanam. Sarva adhishtanam means the adhishtanam of all, the substratum of all, advayam, non-dual. What does it mean? It means that there is a substratum, take that substratum be X. The substratum of X is only one X. It is only one substratum. Non-dual. So, sarva adhishtanam means substratum of all. So, he goes on to prove that it is only one substratum that is the same reality which is there behind all the objects. Sarva adhishtanam advayam. So, how do we prove that? So, he says, if you take a pencil as the example that we took, this pencil is the perception, as far as your perception is concerned, what you see is only the qualities of the pencil. Quality of the pencil, it is color, it is weight, it is height and whatever, length. All these are the qualities. This is what you perceive. But we have established that before you perceive, there has to be a reality which hits you. So this has a reality, put it as X. Similarly, you perceive a man, his qualities of the man. You perceive a watch, it is the qualities of the watch. As of now, you put X. The quality of a flower, when you perceive a flower, it is the qualities of the flower that you perceive, plus X. All that we need to prove is this X, which is the substratum. It is the same substratum and one substratum for all. In order to prove this, he says, take just the opposite. Take these are all different substratums. Say this substratum is X1, this substratum is X2, this substratum is X3. Like that it is. You assume the reality behind flower is some reality, the reality behind the man is some reality, the reality behind watch is some reality. Like that you assume. One reality, if it has to be different from the other reality, one substratum, which is the reality, if it has to be different from the other reality, on what basis can you say that one is different from the other? Anybody? On what basis can you say that one is different from the other?
Quality.
On the quality, correct. Unless otherwise there is qualitative differences between the two, you cannot even compare and say one thing is different. How do you say that this pen is different from this clock? Because the quality of this pen is different and the clock's qualities are different. This quality is color quality is black, this color quality is red, white, and this is light, this is heavy, this is made up of electronic items, or this is made up of some other items. All this is the quality. So the quality, if only it is different from one thing to the other, then there can be a comparison and say this is different and that is different. In the left hand side of the equation, all the qualities are different, that we have marked out. Reality is something beyond the quality. That is our first proposition. Beyond the qualities, that there is a reality. So X is beyond quality, X1 is beyond quality, X2 is beyond quality, X3 is beyond quality. When it is already taken as beyond quality, how can there be any difference? There is no difference. So X equals, here you have to finally give this equation. X equals X1 equals X2 equals whatever it is ultimately X. It is the same substratum. Sarva Adhishthanam. Sarva Adhishthanam means substratum of all. Until you gain that it is the substratum of all, till that point of time, this world seems to be real. But once you have understood this X and you perceive only the X, then at that point of time, it just vanishes away. This is a very fascinating thing. So remember this. This is a deep thought. You have to think deeply on it. We said that this substratum, Sarva Adhishthanam and Advayam, both the words are given here. Advayam means non-dual. Non-dual means it is not cut. There is no separation. There is nothing second. There is nothing second. So you understand that substratum to be only one infinite homogeneous mass, whatever it is. But we said this Jagat, when you understand it to be a mithya, we understand there has to be some substratum behind it, then you understand. If you consider the Jagat as real also, think from that point, from your own experience, it has to have a substratum. You go into the experience of any object that you have. Go into the depth of it to understand what it is. You break those qualities, break those features, break those factors that add up to that building block of that into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller pieces to find out what it is made up of. Substratum is in one way what it is ultimately made up of. So water, break it into molecules, break it into hydrogen and oxygen, break it into further electrons, proton, neutron, further break it, whatever. Science helps us to break up to some point. Otherwise, your imagination, you take it further to break it up. Ultimately, you find it is all a very hazy thing. You do not know what it is. What it is finally, you will say, I do not know what it is. That is what it is. That building block which we do not know what it is, now solidly appears as something which is to have. Water has a different quality, iron has a different quality. See, the common example that is taken here is, so again Swami Ramtirtha helps us to understand. Take the example of charcoal and the diamond. Charcoal is totally different from diamond. Okay, charcoal is black, diamond is brilliant. Charcoal is light and soft, diamond is heavy and hard. Charcoal is very cheap, diamond is very costly. Each and every way you look at it, charcoal is different, diamond is different. Charcoal leaves a paper on the mark, diamond can cut through metals, so hard it is, like that it is. But a chemistry student will say that essentially charcoal and diamond are same. For a person who may not be able to understand the depth of that chemistry, it is like a magic. How can charcoal and diamond be the same? But the truth is that only. Carbon in one form, it is called as charcoal. Carbon in another form, it's called as diamond. Both are carbon only. Now try to understand what is carbon. Can you show me what is carbon? Okay, you can, I do not know how it is. You will show a piece and say this is carbon. You can give it a name and form and say this is carbon block or a carbon paper or a carbon, whatever it is. That has a name, that has a form, that has a quality. You melt it, it may become a liquid or something. For argument's sake, it's a carbon water or something. That has a name, that has a form. But I am asking you to explain what is carbon. Without a name or a form, we will not be able to explain. And this name and form is nothing but qualities which belongs to the world. In essential, it is something else. Satchit Ananda. See, there are 5 aspects to our experience, says a verse. These 5 aspects of experience, anything that you experience are Sat, Chit, Ananda, Nama and Rupa. Of this, he says, first 3 belongs to Brahman, rest 2 belongs to the world. First 3 means Sat, Chit, Ananda belongs to Brahman and Nama and Rupa belongs to the world. What we experience is what we perceive is the Nama and Rupa only. So essentially, if you go into the depth of anything, like you go into the MS Paint or any software and you can draw various pictures and various colors. You try to zoom the picture at any one point of time in any one color. It could be red, green or blue or yellow, anything you zoom. Keep on zooming it. You can go up to 1600% or something like that. That is the limitation. But you imagine again, that is where mathematics helps. Wherever limitations are there, practically maths helps you to imagine further beyond it. Go into 10 times that, 100 times that. The picture that was very solid before now becomes hazier and hazier and hazy. It becomes very hazy. At any point of time, it will go into such hazy thing, somewhat a blank or white type of a thing will only come, irrespective of whichever color you start from. So in the very basic building block or the substratum, it seems to be the same only. In the 1980s, when we had a program in Doordarshan called Quest, 2 Bengali professors only used to conduct it. Professor Bakchi and I do not know for science program. Nice program it was. So they used to explain some concepts. They, in a mortar and pestle, they broke some pieces of glasses, glass bangles. Green bangle they broke and put it into one. Green bangles, few bangle pieces. And yellow bangles they broke and put in another. And red bangle they put it in another. All are different colors, etc. They kept on grinding the bangles till the very end where it became powder. And all the powder were white in color. It was like a magic for us. What is magic? Magic is something which your intellect cannot understand. That is called as magic. Where your intellect cannot go at some. For a person, when he sees a rocket going up, that is also like a magic. But for a rocket scientist who knows the understanding, the principle, who has worked on it, for him it is not a magic. Okay, he understands it. Whenever your intellect understands something, it is not a magic. But your intellect can never reach Brahman, so it always remains as like a magic. This substratum is like that. It is a magic. Wherever you go, so from your point also, when you understand the world to be real, but you try to search for the substratum in it. In this example, the real carbon is the substratum. That is the limitation of that example. Further now expand that example. What is real gold? What is real petrol? What is real carbon? What is real this thing? Everything finally boils down to that same Sarva Adhishtanam. It is the same. Rather, the progression of science has only taken us closer and closer to Advaita Vedanta. It is only making us understand. Never try to fit in this Vedanta into science to understand, but use science to understand what Vedanta says, if it helps you. That's about all. So when you are able to go in deep like that, you understand, even if you consider the world to be real as it is at the surface level of seeing the name and form. You go into the depth of it, there has to be that substratum. That substratum is called as Adhishtanam. Sarva Adhishtanam Advayam. Advayam means non-dual. So this verse needs a very deep contemplation. And now the example of the Adhishtanam from the causation point of view, it is explained in the next verse. That is why I said 6, 7, 8 are very beautiful verses. Each stick to that example. Dream example there, silver and the oyster example here. And next verse he is going to talk about the causation, bubbles and water, which is like a clay and pot example, which we'll take in the next class. So when you understand these three examples separately, then automatically a picture will emerge where the connection is established. So it has to be understood. The key words in this verse is Sarva Adhishtanam and Advai. The world appears to be real as long as the non-dual Brahman, the substratum of all, is not realized, like silver in an oyster shell. Yes, sir.
Said that Satchit Anand Namarupa. Namarupa is quality, Satchit Anand is Adhishtanam. If we compare it with the living and non-living thing, living thing has got Satchit Anand all three. The non-living thing doesn't have Chit. So isn't there a difference?
No. This is with reference to your experience. Any experience that you have has these three things. There is something there. I know that there is something there and I want something there for my pleasure. All this is the inherent quality that is there in the Brahman. But what I experience there is in the form of a name and a form. So these five have to be taken there. We'll conclude.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.